They say some moments never really leave you, not in the way ordinary memories do. Not like birthdays that fade into photo albums or vacations that blur into laughter and sunlight, but the kind that settle deep inside you, under your skin, changing the rhythm of your breath and the way you look at the world long after they've passed. And it's been 2 years since that night, 2 years since everything I thought I understood about love, marriage, and myself quietly unraveled. In a way I still struggle to explain because it wasn't sudden. It didn't explode into existence out of nowhere, it built slowly over time. Hidden in the quiet spaces of our life together, in the routines that replaced passion, in the silence that grew louder than any argument we never had. And when I think back to it now, I realize the truth is far more complicated than a single moment. It was years in the making. Years of feeling unseen, unheard, like I was fading into the background of my own life, becoming less of a woman and more of a function, a role, a responsibility. And I didn't even notice when that shift began. Only that one day I woke up and realized I couldn't remember the last time someone looked at me the way they used to. Like I was something worth admiring, worth wanting, worth noticing. And my husband Daniel, he wasn't a bad man, not cruel or unfaithful in the traditional sense. He provided, he worked hard, he stayed steady and reliable. But somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing me, really seeing me. And our conversations turned into transactions, small exchanges about bills, schedules, responsibilities, the mechanics of a shared life without any of the warmth that once held it together. And I told myself that this was normal, that this is what happens after years of marriage, that love evolves into something quieter, something less intense. But deep down there was a part of me that missed who I used to be, the version of myself that felt alive, confident, desired. And I resented him for not noticing that I was slowly disappearing right in front of him. And yet, he did notice, just not in the way I expected. Because looking back, I can see the signs, the subtle changes in his behavior, the way he started watching me again. The way his compliments returned but felt different, almost measured. Like he was observing rather than feeling like he was preparing something I couldn't yet understand. And then came his birthday, the night everything shifted. He told me he had planned something special, something just for us, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe this was our turning point. Maybe he finally saw me again, so I went along with it. Let myself believe in the possibility of something romantic, something meaningful. And when we arrived at that beautiful house, candles lit and soft music filling the air, it all felt perfect on the surface, almost too perfect. And when he asked me to trust him, placing that blindfold over my eyes, I did, because despite everything, I still trusted him, I still believed in us. And I let him guide me through that unfamiliar space, my senses heightened, my heart racing with a mix of anticipation and something I couldn't quite name. And when the blindfold came off, everything changed, because standing there was another man, calm, composed, looking at me like he had every right to be there. And my first instinct was confusion, followed quickly by a wave of disbelief. I turned to Daniel expecting some kind of explanation, some sign that this was a mistake or a joke. But he just stood there, watching me with a strange calmness that unsettled me more than anything else could have. And in that moment, I felt something inside me crack. Not break completely, but shift in a way that would never fully go back. Because I realized this wasn't spontaneous, this was planned, deliberate, something he had thought about long before that night. And as the seconds stretched into something heavy and suffocating, I found myself caught between conflicting emotions, fear, confusion, anger, but also something I didn't want to admit, something I hated myself for feeling, the awareness of being seen again, really seen, in a way I hadn't been for years. And it terrified me how quickly that feeling took hold, how it slipped past my defenses and settled somewhere deep inside, because I didn't want that. I didn't want to feel anything except outrage or rejection, but human emotions aren't always that simple. And in that moment, they weren't, and Daniel's voice, soft and steady, telling me I deserved to feel wanted again, only made it more complicated because was this an act of love or something else entirely? Something darker, something that blurred the line between giving and letting go. And I remember feeling like I was standing outside of myself, watching everything unfold, as if it were happening to someone else, my thoughts racing, my heart pounding. trying to make sense of a situation that didn't make sense at all. And yet, I didn't leave, I didn't walk away, and that is the part that has stayed with me the most, the part that keeps me awake some nights. Questioning who I was in that moment and who I became afterward, because it wasn't just about what happened, it was about what it meant. About the realization that somewhere along the way, something essential in our marriage had already been lost. And this was just the moment it became impossible to ignore. And when it was over, when the silence returned and the weight of everything settled in, I looked at Daniel and saw something I hadn't expected. Not satisfaction, not relief, but pain, raw and unguarded, the kind he had hidden for so long. And when he spoke, when he said he wanted me to remember what it felt like before he let me go, it felt like the ground disappeared beneath me, because suddenly everything made a different kind of sense. This wasn't just about giving me something, it was about ending something. About closing a chapter in a way neither of us knew how to face directly, and the aftermath was quieter, but somehow heavier, the silence between us growing even deeper, filled with unspoken questions and emotions we couldn't quite put into words. And life continued on the surface, the same routines, the same house, the same roles. But everything felt different, like we were two strangers pretending to be the people we used to be. And days turned into weeks, and the distance between us only grew. Until one day I found the papers, neatly prepared, waiting, unsigned, like a decision neither of us was ready to make, but both of us knew was coming. And even now, I don't have clear answers. I don't know if that night was an act of love, a form of surrender, or something in between. I don't know if I was given a gift or pushed toward an ending that had already begun long before that moment. All I know is that it changed me. In ways I'm still trying to understand, because some moments don't just stay with you, they redefine you quietly, permanently, leaving you to piece together who you were, who you are, and who you might become after everything falls apart.